That way you're not working too hard. Just try to lay down in it.
Alrighty.
Yes, sir. At least safe to look down on.
Just look down, right down?
Yep.
How do you do this? Like this?
Yes, sir. Right up in there, and then you might have to spread your leg just a tad bit. There you go. There it is.
Case.
Robin Miranda, nice to meet you.
Good to see you. Aloha.
Andy Tamori.
Nice to see you. Aloha. Thanks. How's it going here? Yeah? Pretty good?
We're constituents of your district.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we are. This is my district.
We are.
Yeah, it's good that, it's good that you're carrying the legacy forward. So all of the, because a couple of the people I was meeting, like they're 23, 24. I don't know how much they really know about the history, Yeah, really? I mean, they hear about it when they join, right? They have to take the lesson and all this kind of stuff. But yeah.
Thanks for the effort on the website stuff and problem.
That just pissed me off, man. I mean, come on. You know what happened. I know what happened. You got some 22-year-old kid that has no clue who, the 100th 442nd was or why it was so important. How you guys? Hey, how's it? Ed Case from Congress.
Hey, Ed Case.
Aloha.
Good to see you.
How you doing? Aloha.
Yeah. Thanks for
How's
showing
it going? Yeah. Looks like a good day. Were you guys in the successful tug of war company?
No. We were the ATC. 100 bat, that's all that matters. Yeah. You see they're running around.
Yeah. They're trying to be mellow about it, actually. They're not bragging too much. I've been talking to them, but are you all full-time? You're not full-time, right?
You guys.
Right. So just you got other jobs and you're here for this event today? Is that or is this kind of a normal event, like a normal
annual event?
Yeah.
How long have you been in office?
How long have I been in office?
For a while, right? Then you came back?
I did. So, well, I had 8 years in the state legislature, 4 years in Congress, and then I left for 12 years. And then I'm in my 7th year since I got back to Congress. So what is that? That's 12. I'm in my 20th year.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that.
Are you going to keep it going, or?
I'm going to keep going as long as I feel like I'm making a difference, and until I get kicked out by the voters. I mean, the voters can yank me anytime. Right. So
now you have the House of Representatives shirts. That's not what you're currently in, right?
I am.
Oh, you are. Oh, so
yeah.
Do you know District 44 Darius Kilo?
Yeah.
Big Hawaiian guy.
Yeah.
That's my best friend.
Oh, really? There he is. Yeah. This is the U.S. House, not the Hawaii House. So, but I do know him.
Yeah.
Because I should know most of the
state. Just that opening day with him sitting on the floor. That was cool to see.
I was just on the phone with him about 4 weeks ago. Okay. So I keep in touch.
Yeah, he's always busy with the DOT right now. He's all over that.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool.
That's right.
All right, nice to talk to you.
Hi.
Thanks a lot. Aloha.
What was this used for? This is formerly St. John the Baptist. They had a school here.
Oh, I see.
It was like K through 12.
Unfortunately,
during COVID, and they had to shut their doors.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And then the charter started up.
Yeah.
Hey, howdy. How are you? Andy, Ed Case, nice to see you.
Yes.
Thanks, sorry to be late. What class is this? What class is this?
Yeah, this is English ELA. We're a 6th grade English class, but we're pretty advanced in this class. So we're using our data science knowledge that they get from working with Mr. Sun and applying it to linguistics or language topics.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, since I'm a PhD student at UH, I used to do some data analysis, linguistic data analysis, and I thought if they know so much about data science, they can do that too. So yeah, this is what we're doing.
Okay, I'm going to come over on this side. Is that okay? How you all doing today?
Good.
Huh? Right on. How old are you all? Are you all like 10 and 11 and?
We're 12 and 11.
12 and 11, 11 and 12. 6th grade, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let me see what you got here.
Okay.
Okay.
My research question is how social media affects communication. I found out that social media affects people in many ways, such as academics, eyesight, vocabulary, by trends. Social media, they set trends, and some things may be more popular to the majority if it's trending in social media. Social media affects roughly more than 70% of the human population indirectly, meaning they might be affected by someone who uses social media or may use social media themselves. For example, people might start incorporating words from social media into their everyday vocabulary. The first social media was created in 1977. It was called 6 Degrees. At this time, 6 Degrees had roughly 3.5 million registered views, which is a stark contrast to the current users on social media today, which is around 5.2 billion, roughly 64% of the current human population.
Wow.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So what did you do?
So I collected data through a survey in which my classmates were the participants, and the survey had questions focused on social media usage, including the platforms they used and the amount of time they spend on social media every week. The survey also included how my peers thought social media affected them, such as their everyday vocabulary, or if they think it affects them positively or negatively.
And what did you find?
In the responses of my peers, I observed that YouTube is utilized far more frequently than any other platform. The other platforms might be Twitter/X, Facebook, Instagram, or others. Additionally, it seems that my classmates believe social media contributed significantly to the introduction of new words into their everyday vocabulary. These words may either emerge as a result of direct engagement or be influenced more indirectly by social media.
Wow. Cool. Hey.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So I should have introduced myself first of all. So my name is Ed Case, and I am a politician, I guess, as some people know of me as a politician, but I am a United States Congressman. So how many U.S. Congress people do we have here in Hawaii? Two. How many U.S. senators do we have? Two. So in Hawaii, we have 2 U.S. senators and 2 U.S. representatives. And I work in Washington, D.C. I saw somebody searching me over here. So evidently, you can all search me, Ed Case, and you'll find it. I don't know if my picture looks like I look right now, but close enough? All right. Okay, cool. I represent 720,000 people. 720,000 people. So I represent half of the state. And what you're talking about here is really relevant to me right now, because I have to know how to communicate with people the way that you receive communication. Like if all I'm doing is just, giving a speech in the US House, but not doing anything more than that, maybe some people will see me. And if all I'm doing is sending a press release to the newspaper, so I'm in the newspaper, well, that's going to hit some people, but not everybody. So what I'm doing right now, like I'm actually doing a survey right now of my constituents, asking them, how do you get your information? And everybody gets their information differently. Like just think about how many of your homes do your parents get a newspaper every day? Couple, right? So newspapers used to be the only way people got information, and now it's dying away. How many of your homes do your parents listen to the radio for their information? A couple. How many of your homes do your parents get up in the morning and turn on the TV and have the news? Quite a bit, right? And how many of your homes do your parents get up in the morning and go on their computers and look at Facebook? All right? And how many do Twitter? How many do, you get the point, how many do Instagram? Not that many, because you know what? Parents don't do Instagram. Instagram is a little younger than parents. And you're right. What we're finding is that YouTube is actually where a lot of people get their information. So if I'm a politician and I represent 750,000 people and I'm trying to talk to you, I better talk to you in your language. So what I'm doing then is I'm trying to adjust the way that I communicate so that I'm doing it over a lot more platforms than I do myself. Because I know where I get my information from. And it's not really from going on YouTube's every day. But that just reflects who I am and how old I am, right? I got used to a certain way of getting my information. So that's a great project that you guys are learning right there that has an actual application to my life right now. But how did you use data science on that? That's what I wanted to know. Were you like, was that how you got this information, or you synthesized it, or?
Yeah, I did a survey, and then using the data, I created the charts.
Oh, so you started out, you surveyed everybody. How did you survey them out of curiosity? Did you do it online? Did you do SurveyMonkey or something like that?
There's like on Google Drive, you can like create
Oh
a
yeah,
survey.
Google Drive survey. And then you took that and did you do AI analysis of it or something like that?
No, I just cleaned the data myself.
Oh, you just cleaned the data up. Oh, cool. Wow, good job. Any U.S. representatives you have here in Hawaii? Two. Only two. 2 U.S. senators, 2 U.S. representatives, and where do I work? Washington, D.C. In our U.S. Capitol. So I'm just home for the week and trying to check out what's happening around my district. And I wanted to come check out your school because I heard this school is really, really special. And after watching that, I can see what's special. You guys are really into it. Also, I really appreciate this because I fly a lot. And I don't fly KLM at all, so that's good. But there's a lot of good data in there, and it's interesting how you're crunching it. Are you doing multiple regression at all? Are you into that kind of stuff yet? Like really kind of heavy-duty statistics?
Not yet.
Not quite yet. Okay, but you're pretty much there already in terms of what you're doing. It's just teasing out that little bit of data, you could start teasing it out by geography or by time of year or by, whatever, right? There's a lot of factors that you've got in your data. Once you get the data in there, then it's a matter of just analyzing it properly. So, but from what you were telling me, I was mentioning that matches what I think too. Like for example, Hawaiian Airlines being one of the safest. So anyway, thanks for letting me crash the party for a little while. I can't stick around any longer, but good luck. Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome once again to another edition of Hawaii Matters. My name is Michael T. And for the next half hour or so, we're going to be sitting down with a very special guest, Congressman Ed Case. Hello there.
Aloha. It's great to be back on.
Yeah, it's been a while since you've been on Hawaii Matters. We have at least a few things to talk about. Just in case nobody knows who's this guy they're talking to, let's reintroduce you to the folks who live under rocks. Who is Ed Case and what area do you represent? And just give us the lowdown on.
Yeah, sure. Ed Case, born and raised in Hilo, product of Hawaii Island, so I wear my FBI shirt proudly on occasion. I have been in Congress now this is my 12th year in Congress, believe it or not. I served Hawaii in Congress 02 to 07, representing the 2nd Congressional District, which is really the windward side and the west side of this island, as well as the other islands. Got out in 07 and had 12 years back doing what I do as a profession, which was practicing law, working in the tourism industry for that period. And then in 2018, I went back into Congress, and I'm in my 4th term back in Congress now. So that adds up to 12 years. And before that, 8 years in the state legislature. I'm a lawyer by profession. Happily married, 4 kids, 3 granddaughters at this point. Just got another granddaughter about 7 weeks ago. So
congratulations.
All of them right here in Honolulu. So
awesome.
That's awesome.
That's a whole other topic that kids continuing to live in Hawaii. That's a whole other half
Well,
hour.
we can go into that. I'm just very, very fortunate that the 2 of the 4 kids that had kids were living here, so it could have easily been different than that. And before I forget, I'd like to just say that if there's any questions that anybody has or they want to check me out a little bit more as their congressman, case.house.gov is the easiest way to get into my office, to contact me, and to understand what I'm doing and some of the issues that I'm working on.
Yeah, awesome. Case.house.gov.
Right.
All right. Got a brand new administration with Donald Trump as president for part 2. What's your impression so far of these first few months of his second administration?
Well, I mean, obviously there's just a ton of impressions out there, but I think my major impression is confusion and chaos. I would say completely pressing the bounds of presidential power way past what I've really historically seen any president do.
Probably what we've seen anybody do.
Well, maybe so, but I'm just focusing on the presidents for now.
Yeah.
We have a very, what I would call difficult and even dangerous situation in our country. We can debate policies all day. So, I'm fine with democracy working in the debating of policies, the debating of the right choice for the country, the sifting out of various opinions and trying to find the right direction. And sometimes not everybody's going to agree with the direction, and that's the nature of democracy. What I'm not fine with is eroding the foundations of our democracy. And so I think that's the difference that I've seen in this particular president so far. And we're coming up on 100 days. So we don't have an effective check and balance on the president's exercise of his powers. I think his powers in some cases are fine. I don't have a problem with some of the things he's doing. Immigration would be one area where I think we did need to toughen up our border. But there's a number of other areas where I think he's acted beyond the bounds of the law, even in violation of the Constitution. And unfortunately, we're not seeing a check and balance in a Republican majority Congress right now. So the courts are really bearing the load on this right now.
Why don't we see the checks and balances? Is it merely because it's a Republican president and a Republican Congress?
I don't think it's merely that, because I've certainly been in Congresses where you've had plenty of dissent inside the majority party that acts as a check and balance on the president. So if the Republicans in Congress, if they disagreed among themselves on a direction, then I think that would, or if they disagreed with the president's actions and felt, as I believe many of them do, because they are my friends, they are my colleagues, I talk to them about these things, and I know that they share these concerns. But the question is, are they going to act on them? And the fundamental reality is that they are either they support what the president is doing, which is not all of them, or they don't feel that they can disagree with the president in their votes and their public statements. And I think that's the tragedy in this, because they're not supposed to be accountable to the president. They're supposed to be accountable to the country and to their constituents.
Right. Would you characterize Republican behavior as scared of Donald Trump?
I think certainly, as Senator Murkowski said very publicly a couple of days ago, she's the senator from Alaska, and she's just flat out said, most of us are scared of retaliation from the president. We don't want to, get out there and disagree in a very lonely small bunch, because we'll get, retaliated against from a political perspective. And I think that is true for a lot of them. But let's not forget, and let's just be very blunt, that half this country did vote for President Trump.
Right.
And so half of the Congress roughly is a Republican Congress, and half roughly is a Democratic Congress. It just so happens that the Republicans have more than half and the Democrats have less than half. But the question is, why do not more members of Congress, including the majority, believe that what President Trump is doing in many areas pushes the very boundaries and foundations of the democracy itself? There's one thing to disagree on, like, should we continue the Trump tax cuts or not? Okay, we can have a debate about that. And maybe all of the Republicans would line up and say, yeah, we should. And maybe all the Democrats would say, no, we can't. We shouldn't do that. It's unfair. We can't afford it. That's not the issue. The issue is if a president is acting in a way that is unlawful, that takes the power of Congress away, which is given to Congress under the Constitution, ignores courts, that's where everybody in Congress should be standing up and saying, no, that's not good for our democracy.
It is a weird tenuous situation?
It's a very difficult time, and it's a difficult, to be blunt, it's a difficult time to be a representative in Congress. And I'm not looking for sympathy, but I'm just making an observation that this has been one of my most difficult periods that I've ever been in Congress. I mean,
and why so? What's frustrating about it?
The risk to the foundations. I keep going back to that. Well, first of all, I just flat out disagree with some of President Trump's policies, right? So, for example, I don't believe that we should be taking a hatchet to the entire federal government. I don't believe that the DOGE exercise is a reasonable, rational, logical exercise to find efficiencies in our federal government. I think it's not about improving the federal government, it's about destroying the federal government. And I don't believe that we should destroy the federal government. I don't agree on areas that President Trump has pursued, such as cutting off virtually all foreign aid. I believe that we should be interacting with the rest of the world. I don't agree with the tariffs. I have just come from walking my district, actually walking it and just going kind of door to door, business to business, and one of the main takeaways that come to me from that, and this is my third day of doing it, is just Hawaii small businesses and how much they are, in many cases, reliant on imports, and how much very high tariffs, not just from countries like China, but we're talking, Japan, Korea, Vietnam, Malaysia, the Philippines, will hurt our small businesses. So I disagree with those particular policies. But where the real problem is beyond those policies, in the attempt to basically ignore constitutional protections, constitutional boundaries, and to act in violation of law. And we've had, I think we have something like, I want to say it's something like 270 court cases contesting some or another of what Trump has done. And we've had, somewhere around 85, 90 courts now who have said, yeah, we stop that, President Trump and your administration. So, the courts are having to answer the question about whether his actions are legal or constitutional, where really Congress should be the one providing the check and balance.
We're talking to Congressman Ed Case here on Hawaii Matters. Michael T. here, asking questions, and really thank you for your expressing your opinions on some of these things. Would you characterize the difference between this Trump presidency or the difference of how he's handling things as the difference between what he's doing and how he's doing it? Is that where that frustration lies? Because, like you said, you agree with some of the things that he's doing, immigration being one of them, but how he's going about it seems to me to be the point of frustration.
Well, yes, it is how he's going about it that is the primary point of frustration. Because I've served under both Republican and Democratic presidents, and I've served in Republican and Democratic majorities in Congress. So the fact that we are disagreeing on policy matters, on what the right answer is, that's frustrating if you believe very strongly we shouldn't be doing something. So that's true of any Congress, any year. I mean, you're going to have disagreements, and it frustrates you sometimes when your colleagues don't see it the same way as you, right?
But at least you have a chance.
But at least we've got a box that we've all agreed to live in terms of how we determine those policies. The real frustration, and I wouldn't even characterize it as frustration. It's beyond frustration. It's outright concern. The real concern is the erosion of the foundations of our democracy that this president is pursuing, and I believe he is.
All right. Let's move over to DOGE. You mentioned the effects of DOGE and what Trump and Elon Musk have been doing. I had to look it up because I didn't know the number offhand. Our federal budget is something north of $6 trillion, and our tax revenues, the United States tax revenues for, I think it was 2024, was $4-point-something trillion. So there's a $2 trillion difference. Given that, would you say that something needs to be done about that difference between revenue and what we spend?
Absolutely. I've been carrying the water on the concern for our federal deficit and debt since I first went to Congress in 2002. And the last time we were really in any kind of a fiscally stable situation for our country was somewhere around 2000. That was the last time we balanced our budget, meaning that our revenues for the year were more than our expenses for the year. For our federal government, we haven't been in balance since then, and there's a lot of reasons for that. We spent a lot more money as we went into the early 2000s. We cut taxes at the same time that we were increasing expenses, and that obviously leads you to a deficit. The deficit is where you have more expenses than revenues, and the deficit is covered by borrowing that money. So the federal government is borrowing money. So our national debt has gone through the ceiling. It's also gone through the ceiling as a percentage of our total economic output, so the gross domestic product, GDP. And there's two problems with that. First of all, you're doing it to start with, and sometimes you have to do it. And how do you cover that? You borrow the money.
Right.
But if you borrow the money so that the debt is crippling on you, and so that the debt is a huge percentage of what your overall income and assets are, then you get yourself into a hopeless situation very fast. And the federal government is in that situation today. And so I agree that we have to rebalance revenues and expenses, and that leads to some very, very tough decisions. Because let's say you have a tax cut that Trump put in 2017, right? And we have to decide whether we're going to continue those Trump tax cuts. Well, can we afford to continue them? I mean, that's a blunt question. And some people say, no, we can't. And I believe we shouldn't, because I thought that they were unfair tax cuts, benefited the rich at the expense of everybody else to start with. So I got a couple of problems with that tax cut. But then on the expense side, absolutely, the expenses of our federal government are growing too fast. And so if anybody wants to come in and have a reasoned discussion and analysis and approach in terms of asking, okay, what in the federal government, reasonably, rationally, logically, methodically, what should we not do because we can't afford to do it, and how do we phase out of that spending over time so we don't destroy whole reliances that are out there in the wink of an eye and cut off 35-year careers with no prior warning. I don't think that's fair, right? So you can do it in a reasonable, rational, logical way, and you have to. What I have a problem with DOGE is it hasn't been reasonable, rational, or logical. It's just go in there with a meat axe and destroy, as opposed to rebalance and improve overall.
Okay, we're talking to Ed Case, Congressman from Hawaii, and he represents the 1st District. Along those lines, where would you make those cuts? 2 or 3 areas where you feel comfortable making big cuts to the federal budget?
Yeah, well, first of all, you don't necessarily have to reduce spending, but what you do have to do is slow down growth. And so you can't allow the federal budget to, the expense side of the federal budget to grow quite as fast. I mean, I think, for example, we do not need to continue the rate of growth that we've seen on the defense side of the federal budget as we've seen in prior years. Now, we do need a big defense budget. We've got major national security concerns out there, and we're in the thick of it here in Hawaii because we're in the Indo-Pacific where those concerns are. I serve on the House Appropriations Committee, by the way, which is kind of my context for talking about these issues, and that's the committee that does all federal spending. So I do deal with these issues all the time, and that's my judgment on defense. Now, we need to have an increased defense budget, but we don't need to grow it at the rate that some people believe it can. And then I think as you look at the non-defense side of the budget, there's several areas where you can actually slow down the growth and or phase out some programs that I think legitimately could come back to the states and the county governments and or the private sector. And they're kind of sprinkled around there. But if you did all of that, and if you then, and by the way, the other thing to observe about this is that interest on our national debt, so our payment of interest on our national debt to all the people we borrowed that money from is our 2nd largest expenditure now in our federal government. 2nd largest expenditure. So imagine you're, again, back in the family scenario, and your largest expense or 2nd largest expense is simply interest on what you borrowed from the bank.
Or you've maxed out your credit cards and you get a
and you're paying interest, and the interest is not 2%, right? It's a lot more than that. So so if we are able to contain and reduce our annual deficit, then that holds down our overall debt level, and that holds down interest, and that's an obvious place to start to reduce expenses.
Do you think it's possible to get to a balanced federal budget?
I don't believe that. Well, of course,
is it necessary?
No, it's not necessary. Okay. It's not necessary to get all the way to balance. I used to support earlier in my career in Congress an outright balanced budget amendment, and because I was just concerned that there was no discipline in Congress at all, and the only way to introduce that was to require a balanced budget amendment. But I don't think we have to do that with some discipline. Unfortunately, we don't have that discipline, right? So what I've proposed here is what is referred to as a fiscal commission, which is a group of experts that have participation from Congress, but they're really external people, to take a look at the entirety of the federal budget. Say, look, if your goal is to get to a certain level of debt and deficit, then this is how we think you should do it on both the revenue and the expense side. And those would be tough decisions. So don't get me wrong, this is not easy stuff. And they would then come back to Congress and say, here's our report, here's our recommendation. Congress has to vote upon it on an up or down basis, no amending. So, it forces a decision. And the problem here is that Congress has avoided the discussion, and it has avoided any decisions. And as a result, our debt and deficits are going up. And this is true right now, because the proposals that my colleagues on the majority side are making right now in what we call reconciliation, which is about budget and tax issues, will drive that deficit and debt up into trillions of dollars over the next, several years. We're not talking about 10 or 20 years. We're talking about a much shorter time frame.
Let's switch subjects for a moment. You've been in the headlines for breaking ranks with your Democrat colleagues on this SAVE Act. Can you explain what the SAVE Act is?
Sure. Well, first of all, if anybody wants a detailed answer from me on this vote or any other vote, the right way to ask is ed.case@mail.house.gov. ed.case@mail.house.gov. Okay. And a lot of times it's pretty hard to condense it into a soundbite. Everybody wants a soundbite nowadays, and I'm sorry, my mind doesn't work in soundbites.
That's okay.
So the starting point for the SAVE Act is this. Do you believe that only citizens of our country should vote? And most people say, yeah, only, not everybody, by the way, because some people believe that green card holders should vote, et cetera, et cetera. And then if you agree with that, then the next proposition is, well, do you think that there should be some demonstration of citizenship in order to register to vote, so that you actually have to show that you are a citizen? And I think most people agree that there should be.
Sounds reasonable.
And then the question is, okay, well, is there a consistent national standard for demonstrating that you are a citizen? And the answer to that is no, because we've left it to each of the states to do that. And some states are pretty lax about that, some states are not. But it's confusing, and what it does is it leads to a concern that, well, first of all, actual results where non-citizens are voting. Now, they're not large, and they're not large here in Hawaii. So anybody that thinks it's a big problem in Hawaii, no, I don't think it's a big problem in Hawaii. But nationally, it is an issue. And worse, there's a large perception in the country among voters, among citizens, that a lot of non-citizens are voting. And I think that that's a serious concern, because it leads to attacks on the integrity of the election results. So then the question is, okay, well, fine. If we agree with all of that, then is there a reasonable national standard that we can arrive at to demonstrate citizenship when you register to vote? And that's what the SAVE Act does. Now, what the SAVE Act does not do is require everybody to re-register to vote. So if you're already registered, you're done. You're finished. You're cool. It's already done, regardless of whatever the standard was. And if you have certain documentation that's just regular documentation that a lot of us have. For example, driver's license, certain driver's licenses, certainly a passport, obviously a birth certificate, which most of us don't have lying around. So, but passports, yes. But there are a lot of citizens that don't have passports. So that's what the SAVE Act says is, okay, well, fine, if you've got these various documentations, then you ought to be, for new registrations, then you get to register to vote. And if you don't have any of that, by the way, then you can simply swear that you're a citizen, an attestation of citizenship, and with an immediate verification off of a hotline at the federal level that you are in fact a citizen, because there is a record in the federal government of who the citizens are and are not. For example, Social Security, has a designation, et cetera, et cetera. So I felt that that was a reasonable bill. There are concerns that I recognize and acknowledge by some that it would suppress the vote. I don't agree with those concerns. I think this is a reasonable expectation that we should all have of each other. I don't believe it's going to lead to voter suppression. There have been some concerns on same-day registration, which we do here in Hawaii, and I think those are legitimate concerns that we've got to work out. This bill passed the House. It's in the Senate. It can be massaged along the way if it ever gets out of the Senate.
Do you expect it to pass?
I don't. I don't expect it to pass unless the Senate, which has a different balance of R's and D's and chemistry, I suppose I would say, and they have to get to 60 votes in the Senate because of the rules of the Senate. It's not as simple as just getting to a majority. So I think it's going to be tough for this bill, especially given the negative publicity from some parts of our community, to get to 60 votes in the Senate. I believe that we need something like this, though. So this is a matter of substance and analysis. And again, I hear a lot of people saying a lot of things about the SAVE Act, and I just had this conversation in a bowl a couple of hours ago with somebody at a table, and they said to me, well, this about the SAVE Act, and I said, well, have you read the SAVE Act? Because I read it before I voted. They go, no, we haven't voted it. I said, well, you should read it rather than assume that what is being said about it is true. And so there's a lot of stuff floating around, and sometimes that's...
Nobody reads anything, Ed. I'm sorry. Well, we don't read manuals. We don't.
Okay, that's cool, but that's cool. But I'm the one that has to vote,
right.
So I ought to know what the bill says, and I did. I read it.
And we love you for that. And my personal opinion, before I ask you the hot potato question, my personal opinion is when a Republican or a Democrat breaks ranks from his or her own party, it makes me go, that takes courage, because you often see votes along party lines and you don't even have to think about it. I kind of like it, and I think people like it as an idea that my congressman, my representative, voted his or her conscience. Now, what I want to ask you about is, you voted a certain way, you got flack for it. What is the fallout, and why are people that Ed Case voted for the SAVE Act?
Well, first of all, I think the people that are upset at me are a pretty good minority of my overall constituency. So I believe that most of my constituents understand the issue, believe that it's common sense, and accept my decision. And even if they don't accept my decision exactly, they understand it at least, and appreciate that I went through a reasoned approach to figuring it out. So when you say, why do people object to it so strong, to me that's not a majority of my constituents. But it is part of my constituency that I take very, very seriously. I clearly, first of all, I cannot satisfy everybody all the time.
This is true.
The way I look at this is, if I am doing the right thing by most people most of the time, then I'm doing a pretty good job. And so I accept that any decision that I make in Congress is going to have some real supporters and some real detractors. And sometimes you have a tough vote like this where you know that people are going to be upset at you, but I took a look at it, I read it, and I'm happy to explain it to anybody.
does it concern you? How much does it concern you that you get negative feedback from not your constituents, but your colleagues in Congress?
Well, it clearly does concern me because I have to work with my colleagues in Congress. But I think it is true in Congress among most of us that we understand that each of us has to make our own decision on votes. And so I've never had a sense that, you know, when I took, and I've taken a number of tough votes in Congress over my time. I've never had a time when I felt that there was a huge number of my colleagues that were so upset at me that they were going to, take me out of a committee that I wanted or deny a bill that I wanted or anything like that. I mean, we're all dealing with a difficult situation in Congress, and most of us cut a lot of slack to most of us. Now, to be honest, there's some that I won't. And maybe there's some people in Congress, there's 435 of us, that are so upset at me for that particular vote that it might influence their relationship with me in some other way. But if that's out there, I haven't felt it.
That's good to hear.
We all have to work together with each other, and we're going to disagree I'm going to disagree with every one of those 435 at some point or another in my political career, and I'm going to need every one of those 435 at some point or another. For example, when our congressional delegation asked for billions of dollars to take care of Red Hill when that fuel leak sprung, they did it on trust. They did it on relationships. They did it like within weeks, and that's pretty amazing. And that didn't happen by accident. During COVID, we explained what the real consequences were to Hawaii, far more severe than much of the rest of the country because of our tourism industry. They understood that. Lahaina wildfires, same situation. So those are three situations in just 5 years, three crises for our state, true crises for our state in 5 years, where there's been significant federal assistance that our colleagues did because they believed us when we went to them and said, this is a crisis for us, and they helped us out. And I do that for them too.
Do you think let me phrase this correctly, do you think the value of your constituents wanting Ed Case and our representatives in general to vote their conscience, vote their beliefs, and take that to their votes in Congress, does that same sentiment exist between other Congress people, other politicians? Do they have that same value? If I'm a congressman, colleague of yours, says, Ed voted his conscience, it wasn't the way I voted, but I respect him for doing that. How much of that exists in Congress?
That exists greatly in Congress.
That's good to hear.
It doesn't appear that way from the outside,
sure
because if you look down into Congress through the lens of the media as it covers Congress, the polarized media, the social media, the traditional media, whatever, which tends to be presented in a very confrontational and divisive way, and therefore focuses on the real exceptions in Congress, then you would have the impression that it was just a bloody mess, right?
Yeah.
And hey, I'm not going to defend Congress. We are not functional right now, so I'm not happy with Congress. But to your question, yes, most of us do believe that somebody that votes a certain way is doing it for some reason that they've analyzed, and we all respect the fact that whatever that person is, whoever that is, they were elected by their district. Their district chose them. 750,000 people, roughly, average, chose them across the country, all 435 districts. So you got to respect the people that chose them, even if you don't like, what that person is saying or doing or deciding.
Yeah. Let me ask the opposite question: are there members of Congress who will vote or will play politics and say, you vote a certain way, I don't like that, therefore I'm going to hold a vendetta against you the next time something comes around?
Yes, there are members of Congress like that. They are the exception rather than
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. I would love for you to name names. But I know it's not going to happen.
No, I'm answering your question, but
Yeah.
I'm not going that far. But no, I mean, hey, these are all people, and they all have personalities and characteristics and qualities, and to be blunt, some of them don't really have good character, don't really have good principles, don't really have good foundations, but they are the exception. Most of the members of Congress that I have worked with over the 12 years have been good people trying to do the right thing with a moral compass, with a set of principles, with a foundation in a very difficult situation. And they've had to make very difficult calls on whether this is the hill to die on, or whether this is the hill to go along on, and what do they need to develop relationships and achieve the ability to accomplish agendas that they want nationally, and certainly to help their districts. And we're from a small state here. There's only 4 of us in the Congress out of 535. And so, some of the legends of our congressional delegations, such as, Inouye and Matsunaga and the rest of them, all understood that you have to work within Congress for a small state, because you're not like California. You don't have like 50 plus other people that can pick up the ball if you blow it on a particular issue, or if you lie to somebody and lose your credibility. No, we all have to get along in Congress, and that takes some tough decisions sometimes.
Yeah, being that there were only 4, you probably stand out even more.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
It helps, by the way, that they all want to visit Hawaii, so that's cool.
Yes, it does. We've been
if you don't do what I want, I'm not going to facilitate your visit to Hawaii.
You hear that? It's Hawaii Matters. We've been talking to Ed Case. I'll give you the last 30 seconds to wrap up. Final words.
Yeah, this always goes way too fast. I feel like we, touched like 1% of what there is to talk about. I always welcome people checking out what I'm doing at case.house.gov. And I think one thing to say also is that although I deal with a lot of national issues, and although my job is about helping Hawaii, my job is also about helping individual constituents with their issues, which we do. We call that casework sometimes in Congress. And this could be federal benefits, Social Security, Medicare. Veterans is a huge part of that portfolio. So think about us as a resource, not only when you want to share in the national debate, not only when you want to help Hawaii, but also if you need help too. Case.house.gov and/or ed.case@mail.house.gov.
All right. Ed Case, Congressman from Hawaii. Thanks for joining us here on Hawaii Matters.
Thanks so much.
If you want to replay or share this episode, look for Hawaii Matters on most major podcast platforms. Michael T. here on behalf of everyone at Pacific Media Group. Thanks for listening to Hawaii Matters.
Thanks for coming personally to join my congressional art competition and for your participation. And so the first couple of things we want to say are thank you so much for any teachers that are here, because some of the teachers here have been coming here to my events for like 6 or 7 years. I forget what this is like. Well, I guess we missed one with COVID, right? But we actually did one virtually during COVID. But we really appreciate, first of all of the teachers who are dedicating themselves to all of your students. We definitely appreciate all of the students that have participated in this art competition. Really, really appreciate that you all are interested in art and are participating in art. Let me tell you a little bit about this competition, because it's kind of unusual. It started back in 1982, and back in 1982, members of Congress like me, I wasn't in Congress then, decided that we wanted to encourage, incentivize students to give rise to their artistic talents. And we wanted to develop not only students that took advantage of their talents and became artists, but also just knew that they were artists in their own way. And we also wanted to generate the next generation of teachers that would also carry forward art education throughout our schools. And we had great judges this year. First of all, I don't do any of the judging. Why would I do that? It's my competition. I don't want, it's a tough one to judge. And walking around here looking at all of this artwork, I am happy that I didn't have to judge it. But we had great judges this year. And so I'm going to introduce my judges this year. And first of all, the judge that in person, actually, in the entire room that I've known the longest, and that's Miliana Meyer right over there, who I've Meliana is an artist, an educator, a cultural advocate. She's very involved in commitment to all things Hawaiian, all things Native Hawaiian. So art, books, education, social justice, and she came to help us out with judging this year. So mahalo for that. Zoe Liu, right here, is from Hong Kong originally. She's a Hong Kong-born artist, and she is based in Honolulu right now. She came here, I think, to go to the University of Hawaii at Manoa. She's a graduate of UH Manoa. She got top honors in drawing and digital imaging. So we have expanded art over the years to not just be kind of traditional painting, but also photography and digital art, which I think makes the judging a lot harder as well. She's also the founder of Art Tent Studio, and she's a teaching artist throughout Honolulu as well in a lot of different areas. So mahalo, Zoe, for doing that. And then we have Kahi Ching right here, born right here in Honolulu, who's been a lifelong creative being. He's worked across all kinds of art, including painting, sculpture, public art, and bonsai. Great to have bonsai artists in our midst. He sold his first painting at age 11, so you're way beyond him already. But this is a person you can talk to about kind of a career as an artist in addition to our other arts, and he continues to contribute to our art community here in Honolulu. So thank you so much. So can we just give a round of applause for our three judges? In third place in my competition this year is Dana Lynn Theodore. Is she here? Excellent. Thank you so much. Dana Lynn is a junior at Farrington High School, and her entry is a piece entitled Woven in Me. Where is your piece? Oh, right here. Yeah, this was beautiful. I looked at this and went, wow, that really evokes something. So, Dana Lynn, thank you so much, and congratulations. Right on. Thank you. Okay, what were you looking at?
This is about my culture.
Huh?
My culture.
Oh, this is about your culture. Yeah. Just go ahead and just tell everybody what were you trying to say in this?
So weaving is an important part of my culture. We weave clothes and baskets back in the days.
What is your culture, by the way?
I'm Micronesian.
Micronesian. Oh, what part of Micronesia?
Chukis.
Chukis. Oh, right on. So this is part of the culture of Chuk,
Yes.
right? Okay. Okay, second place is Ray Angelo Santos, a 10th grader from Farrington High School. Is Ray Angelo here? Aloha. And Ray Angelo had a art piece entitled Mother of Three, right? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Where is your art?
Oh, it's over there.
Okay.
In the back.
Okay, so that's that beautiful photograph of the woman with strength in a mother's. Tell us a little bit about how you approached this and what you were trying to achieve in that, and what you think it represents.
So I was trying to achieve I want the people, by seeing it, to reflect on their loving mother. Because for me, my mom, she's my everything, and I want everybody to reflect for their mom.
Yeah. Is that your mother?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh, there's your mother. Okay. Is that your grandmother?
Yep.
Oh, wow. So, I mean, she's definitely saying something. She's not talking or anything, but you look at her eyes, and she's definitely, first of all, that's a person with a lot of wisdom in the world. So there's a story there. So mahalo for that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. The second and third place, I post in my office in Washington, D.C. and in Honolulu, my district office in Honolulu and my D.C. office on Capitol Hill. I put them up on my wall for the year. So if you come and visit me in Washington, you will see a congressional art competition winner, and also in my district office, but especially if you come to visit in D.C., which we welcome you to do. The first place winner their art is recognized by Congress as the art winner from my state. And there's a very, very long tunnel that goes underground from the office buildings where we all work to the United States Capitol. So everybody walks through this long tunnel every day. And along the wall of that tunnel are posted all of the winners of the Congressional Art Competition. So thousands of people check it out. It's very, very beautiful. And you look at that and you think about all the talent in our country. It's pretty amazing. So the first place winner is going to have his or her artwork on that wall. And then also Southwest Airlines, who helps us out with this, is going to take them to Washington, D.C. to participate in a reception for all of the winners across the country. So the first place winner this year is Mei Shiraishi, a freshman from Hawaii Baptist Academy, with her piece, Beauty Amid the Debris.
Yes,
Congratulations,
thank you so
Mei. Thank you so much. Okay, where is it?
It's right over there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right over there. And so, Mei, tell us what it is and what you're trying to do.
So as someone who loves the beach and exploring it, I wanted to share some kind of combination of a turtle and Hawaiian flowers, which are two beautiful aspects of this island. But as you can see in the background, there's a lot of texture, and it's actually made out of plastic debris.
Oh.
And I wanted to spread awareness of ocean pollution.
Right.
And I wanted to share that it can still be beautiful, but we can all make a step to improve it.
Okay. Things that are special to you, but you're also making a statement of sorts, right? And you did it in a very unusual style. So I'm going to let the judges talk about it, but that's my reaction to it. But thank you so much. Yeah. We'll see you in Washington. Our honorable mention is Janelle DeCastro, a senior from Farrington High School for wants and needs. Okay, where is it?
It's that back corner.
Okay. Oh, so this is, well, why don't you go ahead and tell us what you see there?
So what I wanted to show is just how, people in the world have a lot of wants and needs for money, but it's not just physical people, also I just wanted to show that it's also other things that need money in life.
Right,
so, yeah.
right. Yeah, it's cool the way you framed it. I think with photography, and with anything, framing is a lot of the battle, is just getting that right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One right here, 1, 2, 3. And then one over here, 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Yeah. Your pairs.